Two guys of Minnesota sports flowing in their veins. Mackey and Judd on Score North and ScoreNorth.com.
Reckless speculation.
Reckless speculation.
Yeah. Welcome in to a Reckless Speculation Thursday of Mackey and Judd here. We will get our friend Darren Doogie Wolfson on the show today as well for some inside information about our local Minnesota sports teams. Nice little win for the T-Wolves last night. We'll probably touch on that with our friend Doogs. Gentlemen, I think we should do a little itinerary here for the Vikings, or some organization of what do they have on their hands as they look to make roster moves over the next 5 or 6 weeks here. They need to get younger and faster on defense. They need to fill about 7 different starting positions, center on offense, maybe a number 2 wide receiver. So how do they get rid of some of the old, collect some value if possible? Basically, if they started dangling veteran players in trades, what could they get is the exercise I would like to go through with you guys today. But my first question is, do you think they're going to look to trade some of these guys? Like, do you think they're it's easy for us to sit here and say, oh yeah, make some phone calls on Dalvin, Adam Thielen. His wife is chirping on Instagram about, him feeling slighted. To what extent do you think the Vikings will actually shop some of these veteran players?
I don't think a ton. Like we'll go through the list, and there are some names that I think you could at least try to shop. But Thielen and his contract, right? And his age and his declining play. Are you really going to get are you going to ask for a 7th round pick? Are you going to ask for a 6th round pick? I mean, unfortunately, in this day now with where he stands physically, there's not much to get there. So it's not like they're going to take the entire list of guys that we're about to talk about and be like, let's work those phones and we can move them for a 2nd round pick or a 3rd round pick. And I think at some point in time, there just becomes a reality that the relationship is going to end, and it's going to end with a guy being cut. So it's probably not as much as Vikings fans would like to think.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Dex.
I was going to say, it depends on the veteran player. I mean, everyone says, well, Kendricks might have value, but also the Vikings can cut him for basically nothing and save the money. And I think other teams probably recognize that as, well, we'll just wait till you cut him, and it's not a penalty much for you. So why would we trade you something of an asset when he's just going to hit the open market and we can negotiate that way? So maybe Harrison. I don't know what you're going to do with Thielen. I just don't know unless he agrees to the restructure with that new team. I think that's going to be tough. So it depends on the players we want to talk about. But I think with those aging core veteran players, I don't know if there is really much value to be had there.
I think let's start with Eric Kendricks. I think you guys are right. He's 30-year-old linebacker, or 31, whatever he is. Mm-hmm. He has lost multiple steps. We looked at his PFF cover. He used to be one of the best cover linebackers in the NFL for 3 or 4 years, as recently as 2 years ago. And he's now one of the worst cover linebackers in the league. You can see it with your eye test. The Vikings are almost certainly just going to cut him because there's almost no penalty to do that. Now, the advantage, if a team thought there was one more year left of Kendricks and they wanted to use him in a different type of defense or something, the advantage to trading for him would be that if there's a market for him, you don't have to fight with other teams. But I don't know that there's much of a fight even with him as a free agent. So let's start with him. Does he get you anything back if you trade him? Like a 7th even?
No, because to your point, I don't think that there's a market. You need to call a team and say, hey, look, I'm talking to 3 teams about Kendricks. Yeah. And all of them are champing at the bit to get Eric Kendricks. And the team's like, oh my God, okay, I'll give you a 5th round pick. The decline in play, you know what? Good or bad, Eric Kendricks is the poster child for the type of guy that the Vikings have taken off the cliff. Mm-hmm. There was probably a chance last year where if you made some calls, you'd be like, ooh, interesting. Now he's gone off the cliff. Every metric says so. So no, I think you say, thank you very much, release him, and that's that.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think we'll do a nothing burger for Eric Kendricks here. So we're making our list here. Okay. Adam Thielen. It would have to come with a reworked contract, obviously. He has a $19 million cap hit, which is the 2nd highest on the Vikings right now, and it's among the the 7 to 10 highest wide receivers. But if you just look at him as a player, would a team come and say, all right, pending a new contract, we would love him as like a slot guy, a reliable set of hands, a contending type of a team that's looking to put, the Packers. We get a bunch of young receivers. Maybe Randall Cobb is gone. Adam Thielen comes in as kind of a number 3 receiver. He's got a great relationship apparently with Aaron Rodgers based on, some of the things they've said about each other. Wherever Tom Brady winds up. Okay, Tom Brady goes to the Raiders or something. They got Devontae Adams over here, and does Adam Thielen fit in somewhere? Would a team give up a 6th-round pick for Adam Thielen?
Not unless he agreed to restructure his contract with that team. And I think
he would.
Well, but here's the thing: I think he would say, "Release me then, so I can just pick." So he would say, "I'm not going to restructure until I basically just sign a new contract." The Thielen thing to me is so intriguing because here's what we don't know. He's, his wife, I'm sure, was conveying his frustration about his use or lack of use. But what we don't know is he hasn't come out and talked at all yet. So, was that in-season frustration that's now passed? There is a chance, and I don't even know if I like this thought, but there is a chance that when it's all said and done and things calm down, he would become Chad Greenway. Once things calm down, he's not mad now. He's like, yeah, I did decline. I wasn't, I got mad because I wasn't used. But you know what? I've got a chance. I'm a kid from Detroit Lakes. I think he's from here. I got a chance to play my entire career here. You know what? I'd like to. I'll restructure.
I don't think that's how his mind works. I think
you're probably right.
He has an ego, man.
I think you're probably right. I'm just saying this is a really interesting thing because despite the fact that I'm sure his wife was passing along how he felt, it is a third party. I would just love to know how this is going to go. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting one.
Here's a dumb question. I get the bit of a different level of stature for this player, but was Julio Jones traded?
Yes, right?
It was okay. It was
first time?
It was a year ago. The Falcons traded a 33-year-old Julio Jones for a 2nd-round pick. So he was that was when he was traded to the Titans, right?
Yes.
Okay. So it was a couple years ago. He was in his early 30s.
Yes.
So it wound up being a 2nd-round pick. I just think for some of and he was coming off injuries, and obviously Julio Jones at his peak was a Hall of Fame level receiver. Thielen not quite on that level.
Right.
But I just think if there's a team out there looking for just another weapon, there's always guys that float around like that. Can we put Thielen, unless you guys totally disagree, can we put him down for somebody would give you a 6th-round pick, a 5th or a 6th-round pick for him? Or do you want to fight that?
I personally don't think so. I think with the wear and tear and the attrition, but what's left? He can't.
Well, dude, he still went for 70 catches this year, right?
I know, but he
still caught 700 yards worth of, and he can score some touchdowns.
Yeah, but if the
you're
separation
making it sound
gets
like
worse,
he's totally cooked. I think
he is.
as a 2nd wide receiver.
I think he's got good hands, but I think he's totally cooked because unless he comes back next year with basically new legs, the lack of separation is frightening already. Yes. The lack of separation is frightening, and it's only going to get worse. He can't separate.
But what I'm saying is there's room on a team, not as a number 2 guy making $19 million, but there's room on a team for 70 catches, 700 yards, first downs, and some red zone reliability.
But why am I going to trade for him when I can force your hand to release him, and now I can just work out a new contract that's a fresh start?
This is I'm like Kwesi begging you. Who are you?
No.
Which general manager are you? You're the Packers or something. And I'm like, no, but he's still great.
I don't want to be Brian Gutekunst. Don't make me Brian Gutekunst. I'd rather be Steve Keim.
Okay, Dex, break the tie here. I'm saying we put a 6th-round value. We're trying to make a list of what could you get at the end of the day for all these players. And Judd is saying nothing. I'm saying 5th or 6th-round pick. Or side with one of your parents here.
Yeah. I think you can get a 5th for him. I think you can. Okay. I think you can. Here's the other interesting part that they could throw in. Could you throw in a draft pick to the other team to make them take the damn contract?
No. You would just cut him. No, dude. What?
Okay. We're just adding to the conversation. You told me to pick a side. I don't love either of your sides, so the kid is going to throw in a curveball to both parents' terrible suggestions and bring up another suggestion that I'm just throwing out there.
But the reason why I think he gets cut is because of that. That contract, I don't want to even deal with it. I don't need to. If you cut him, now I just sign him to a new contract, and you're on the hook for everything else.
Well, I'm going to ask a dumb question here. So part of the reason why his cap hit is so high, his guaranteed money is low, is because the Vikings already paid him a huge bonus that they have to now prorate multiple years on their books, right?
Yes.
Is there any rule in the NFL where you could give a team a draft pick where they would take that cap hit off your books?
No.
I think that's just on your books.
They can't.
It's a sunk cost, right?
Correct.
Okay.
It's
So
yours.
So I think it would be like you'd rather cut him than give up a draft pick. In the NBA, sometimes you would do that because like the full like most of the contract moves into the other team's book.
Happens in the NHL a lot too. Happens in the
This
NHL
league
a ton.
doesn't. Yeah, this league doesn't allow you to get nearly as creative
No.
as hockey and basketball do.
Okay, Harrison. Sorry, are you mad at me because I chirped you there?
No, chirped you. It was just a suggestion, and you acted like I crapped on your floor or something. I was just saying that
And he
it's a
sided
possible.
with you too. He tried to suck up.
It was
and
a
then
little bit of a.
him.
It could be a future pick. I'm just saying. You know what? I'm just to spite you. I might make this a write that down prediction, just so if I'm right, I can get double credit.
Don't
You think they're going to
It's
give
not
up
gonna
a
happen.
draft pick and Adam Thielen for
It's not
nothing?
going to happen.
To get the team to take it, maybe. Never know.
So there's nothing to take though because
I'm out of
there's no more guaranteed money left for him, and the cap hit is on your books.
I'm just
someone
thinking
can
of
come in and
you never
Rob
know. There
Brzezinski
could be a
can come in.
sucker. There's always a sucker. There's 31 other teams. There's
Yeah,
suckers.
you'd be the sucker if you put a draft. Here's a first round pick to take. Adam
I'm not
Thielen
saying a
up.
first. I'm just telling you could throw a future draft pick attached to it to make it sweeter. That's all I'm saying.
Let's get Brzezinski on the show so he
I'm
can
just going to
explain
sit
the
back here
contract.
and watch you two fight about this.
Okay, Dalvin Cook. Now, a few months ago, Jeff Wilson, who's just kind of a part-time, he's a 27-year-old part-time running back, good player, but not a bell cow. He was traded for a 5th-round pick at the deadline. Dalvin still has, now there's a lot of like metrics and things, and your eyes would tell you that he's not the same player that he was. But Dalvin is coming off another 1,000-plus yard season, 4.5 yards a carry. He's still mostly in his prime, although like we see him enough to know that the end is probably coming a lot quicker than people think. But Is there a contending team? If Jeff Wilson was worth a 5th, what would Dalvin Cook be worth?
In season, I think you could get something for him. Off season, I think it'd be very tough because again, I don't want his contract. I might want his services.
Yeah.
Now, to go back to one of your original points, Phil, I guess my question is this: with Dalvin Cook, could you create a market? Now, some will say, absolutely not. You're an idiot. He's a running back. And those folks might be right. But can you create any type of market? With that position, I just have my doubts. So I think he just gets released.
Wow.
I think you could probably get something for him. He was a really good running back. I think you can potentially, and you can still kind of maneuver this contract to a degree. There's still 3 years left on it. I think another team can do something with this. I think you could probably get a 5th. You could probably get a 5th for him. You get anything up higher, I would run away with it. But I think you could. I think you get a 5th.
I'd love to get a 5th.
I think you can get more than a 5th.
Mm-hmm.
I think, again, there are teams that, like the Buffalo Bills, that's the first call I would make. Okay, Buffalo, you guys are feeling the pressure. You got Diggs yelling at your quarterback. You've kind of hit the same glass ceiling. Josh Allen is your running game. So what do you want to take the next step here? What do you need offensively? You just need another guy to help you not be so reliant on deep passes down the field to your wide receivers. I would call the Bills and I would say, give us a 3rd round pick. I don't even know if they have a 3rd round pick. Whatever, like 3rd or 4th round pick. And I would start the conversation. You got to find a desperate contender that thinks that has a little bit of wiggle room cap wise, that thinks that a guy like him would be a final piece to their Super Bowl puzzle.
If Thielen had more left position wise, I would say that the scenario you just presented could work for him. I think there's so few teams in 2023 that are going to pay for a veteran back. Like if Buffalo decides, and
Well,
by the way, if he got
Jeff
released
Wilson got there's a fifth for
in
Jeff
season, though.
bleeping Wilson.
That's a desperation in season. I sort of like that. Like I think at the deadline now, especially since it's become far more viable and active,
Yeah.
I think at the deadline that works. I don't think Jeff Wilson gets you squat once the season's done.
Okay. So Declan, I think yes. So you think you can't get anything for Cook? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, no, I don't. Like, no.
Wow. Maybe you're right. I don't know.
Phil, you said the most important thing is where am I going to create the market? Like, can I get 3 teams who are like, oh yeah, I'll give you something for Dalvin Cook?
I don't think the league thinks he's cooked. He just ran for 1,200. What was his final tally? Like 1,200 yards? Let's check it out here.
He's a well-respected back. He's made 3 straight Pro Bowls.
Yeah, he doesn't need to be like a Hall of Famer anymore for him to be valuable for a team. So he ran for 1,200 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4.5 yards of carries, coming off 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons. You know, he caught 40 passes. Like that is, I don't think teams look at that and say, oh, no chance we're giving up a 5th-round pick for that. I
think teams look at the carries and the workload and say, I'm not going to give you a thing for it.
Wow, nothing for Dalvin.
So far, I'm 0 for
the
Vikings.
God.
I'm cutting everybody.
Wow. Okay. So I guess Declan and I kind of outweigh you a little. So we'll say a 6th rounder. I'll just put a 6th rounder down here. Okay. Danielle Hunter. We kind of went over this a couple days ago.
This is a good one.
We can just quickly let's put what do you think? A 2nd rounder? Yeah. Judd says nothing. You get nothing for Danielle Hunter.
Absolutely nothing. He's cooked. He's done. No. 2nd rounder.
I think a floor of a 2nd. I think you can still get a 1st, but I think you can get at least a 2nd.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like a late 1st?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
not like a top 5 pick, but yeah, I think
he definitely is an intriguing one.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that.
Harrison Smith.
What's that contract again?
Let me look it up here.
He's going to have to smooth that puppy out for somebody.
Okay. Harrison Smith. Let's see how much guaranteed money's left. So the cap hit for the Vikings would be $19 million this year, but his base salary is 14. Gotta find the guarantees here. That's the thing that matters. He's guaranteed nothing, however.
Okay, so that helps.
So he's ripe for a restructure. So you could pretty easily bring that down, but then again, the Vikings could. It's actually fairly expensive for the Vikings to cut him this year, so they do have some leverage. They could tell teams, we're probably not going to cut him, but if you want to trade for him, that's the only way that you could get your hands on a very good safety still.
And he's 33 now?
Yep.
He'll be 34 when the season
starts. So I think of all the names that we're going through, save for Danielle, I think that Smith is back. But if he's not, I think you could get a 5th-round pick for him.
Okay.
I think you definitely get a pick for him. I think he plays a position where his savvy is still incredibly important, and safeties don't have to be the quickest guys.
Yep. And it's another one of those guys. This is kind of my logic with Dalvin Cook too, that he's not going to be the best player on your team, but you'd be trading for a final piece to a puzzle. Or if you're a defense, you're looking for just like a savvy safety that can make some plays. Like he's an assistant coach sort of on the field.
Sure.
I'm just I'm so excited about vomiting in my mouth because of how much I love Harrison Smith here.
4th or 5th round?
5th round pick, we'll say for
sure.
All right. Kirk Cousins.
Oh God, you had to go there. You had to open up the.
I knew it was coming.
It's worth discussing.
Okay, so first of all, he's got to waive his no trade clause.
Yeah, well, that would be a pretty easy thing to say. Hey, we're getting rid of 5 or 6 veterans. We are resetting our salary cap, and we're not winning is not our top priority in 2022 or 23.
This might surprise folks, but I actually think Kirk Cousins, if you did all of this, which by the way, to be very, very clear, Cousins Crusaders, I don't think they're going to do, but if they were to do this, I think you could get a very high draft pick for him. He is a incredibly viable starting quarterback coming off a year when, his stats are down, but the 8 comeback wins in the 4th quarter are incredibly impressive for a guy who, at least until 2021, struggled to come back. So, if you have a team that is set to go like like the Raiders right now, if they liked Kirk, I think you could get a high draft pick.
Mm-hmm. I think you can, let's call it a second. Let's call it a second round pick. Can you get a second round pick for Kirk? Can you find a team like the Raiders or the Colts or a QB hungry team?
Third for Matt Ryan.
Well, you know what? You know what? I would look for if I'm Kwesi, I would look for a third in this year's draft and a conditional first in 24.
Win a playoff game or something.
Yeah, playing time. Well, Carson Wentz was attached to conditional picks.
Yeah. I like the conditional.
And I think he triggered it with the Colts, right?
He did, yeah. He had played like 75% of the snaps or something.
If the Raiders call me and say, "Oh, we hate Carr, but our team is good and we need the ability to come back, like we need to win games," right? I'd say, "Okay, cool. But if you win games, I need more."
Yeah.
So let's make it a conditional first.
The Raiders, all of that logic makes sense, but they could just spend money to get Tom Brady and not have to give up a pick.
Yeah. But I mean,
do the Buccaneers come into play?
Right.
The Buccaneers, we got a bunch of veterans running around. Again, I don't think this is going to happen either. But to our conversation a few days ago, or maybe it was last week about Cousins, if you've decided that you're going to just play out the final year of his contract and move on, then you might as well shop him and see if you can get. I mean, this is how often do you have a chance to trade something for a first or second round pick that's that valuable? I
would be now absolutely shocked, floored. I would fall out of this chair if that took place. But yeah, I think if you could get a conditional first round pick, like a first and a third, and the conditional first round pick drops to a second if the team, let's say, does not qualify for the playoffs. I mean, I think that's a doable scenario, if nothing else.
And I know this is a long time ago, but didn't the Vikings give up a first round pick for Sam Bradford at the last minute out of desperation?
Yep. Yes.
So
can you imagine if you traded Kirk to a desperate team coming out of training camp?
Oh my God. He'd have to waive it, obviously.
Because Trey Lance is starting for you.
People kind of got on us yesterday. There's a lot of people that are completely out on Trey Lance, and I hear it. Part of it's just his contract's not as valuable as it would have been 2 years ago because he's going into year 3 of his rookie scale. But
right.
So if you Vikings move all of these old players, and Patrick Peterson's a free agent, so you can't trade him. Jordan Hicks is a free agent, you can't trade him. So some of the veterans are not
Hicks
tradable.
Not. No, I think he's back.
Oh, you could trade Hicks.
Yes.
Yeah, he does.
He's got no value, but yes, I think he's easily cuttable, but he's right now scheduled to be back.
I mean, is there any value there? Probably not. If we said none for Kendricks, yeah.
I mean, it'd be like trying to trade me. I'm so slow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you do with all these players: Cousins, Hunter, Kendricks, Smith, Thielen, Cook. You'd be getting a second, maybe a second, nothing for Kendricks, a fifth, a sixth, and a sixth. All right. You'd have some draft capital. You go from 4 picks to like 9 picks or something in this.
Oh, absolutely. Draft. Yeah. And guess what? Those guys can play. Despite what we think here, there's no rule that says a 6th round pick can't play as a rookie.
No, it's shocking. Yes.
Just quickly before we get to Dukes on the Trey Lance thing, which, by the way, I wrote my 5-point Trey Lance trade chip piece for my friends at VikingsWire.com. Can I say this about the entire QB thing? For folks who are like, "Oh, that's a terrible idea. You're going to draft one and stuff." All of this is sort of a crapshoot. So, like, why do we think, or why do folks think, well, Trey Lance, he's been hurt, he sucks, he's not good? We don't know that.
Mm-mm. I agree.
I don't think you can say he sucks by any
people are quick to dismiss,
barely played.
But people are quick to dismiss what might be alternatives. I feel like.
Yeah.
And also, no one is. Yes, people are quick to dismiss alternatives, as I was earlier in this episode. But if Trey Lance plays well enough, is that what you were referring to?
A little bit, yeah.
He was, I was, and I'm just saying people
really
are quick
good,
to
So let me get this
players.
straight. So you're saying you could trade Adam Thielen for a 5th round pick, or you could trade him and a 5th round pick to somebody else.
I'm saying you get the 5th, right? So you
said you hate your parents. You said you hate your parents' options.
Yeah. And
one of the parents' options was trading Thielen for a 5th round pick. You said, I hate that. Here's a better idea. What if we trade Thielen and a pick and get nothing?
No. That's not what I was implying. I was implying you get the 5th back. Okay, so I agree with you in that. I'm saying then you throw in a conditional pick in the future draft to make them take the damn contract off your hands. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying.
Okay, just checking.
That's so uncomfortable.
I'm not uncomfortable. I was trying to talk about the quarterbacks.
I'm sorry. I just short circuited when Declan said, "Let's give a pick
yeah.
and Thielen."
Yes, you did.
No, why don't you just hang on to
You did
Thielen
totally
or cut him?
short-circuit.
Just cut him then.
Like you looked at Dex like he might be the stupidest
I was
human
like,
alive.
whoa.
I didn't.
was
I'm
like-
sorry.
No, you
I'm
did.
sorry.
Anyway, Trey Lance. Don't dismiss things that might make sense.
No. All right. We'll talk to Doogie on Mackey and Judd today as well.